Remember when Sam and I had that big ball of opium?
No.
Oh.
Kind of.
I'm surprised you remember that.
Yeah, it was glorious.
Yeah?
You don't forget good times like that.
Yeah. Folks, welcome to the podcast. This is how it's going to be today. Welcome to Werewolf Radar, the world's premier paranormal preparedness podcast. My name's Jordan Dahl.
I am Nate Baldwin.
I am Roger Norquist.
Today's episode of Werewolf Radar is brought to you by the Monstroco Webskin 4.0 by Monstrocom Computing. This slick Technicolor bioskin allows full internet immersion with few of the drawbacks of Webskin 3.5. No more demonic attachments. No more host not found syndrome. No more, well, minimal undulations. Order now for a free tube of debonding agent and enjoy the web with your whole self, you perv. Webskin 4.0 by Monstrocom Computing.
This is what I've been waiting for. I want to enter the goddamn internet like Chase from Neuromancer. I want to rub up against the Best Buy store.
Take a dip. Pop on the Webskin. Dive in.
Net runners.
I want to be a net runner.
Yep,
I've always
find
dreamt
yourself a portal to the web available through most computers, and there is one in every Best Buy. And just slide on in there. You
I'm
might not
off.
come out.
and then I just leave.
Minimal
Never return.
Guys, can I go first? I want to continue Witchtober.
Absolutely.
Yes, I'm going to continue my ghost stories for later.
Great.
Nate, I assume you're going to continue being a cool dude.
I got some stuff.
I want to talk to you guys today about the astral realm. It is
Oh,
an important part of witching, of being a witch, and of getting around as a witch. We've talked about it before. Witches, primarily the sort of imagery of flying on a broomstick, actually originated by them doing what they call slipping the keyhole, which is where they cover themselves in a psychedelic witch grease, and then they imagine a keyhole and they ride a key through it, and their astral self is projected out into the world to soar around willy-nilly, cackling, cavorting, petting cats, I imagine. So I'm going to start out this segment that I'm calling Which, What, Where,
nice.
with a recipe from aminoapps.com/c/pagans-witches. This is a recipe for, you guessed it, astral travel oil. This is the grease, y'all.
So I slather this on my body.
You slather it on your body.
I pictured the keyhole.
Yes.
I ride a key through that keyhole and bingo bango, I slip my way in.
Yes, you must meditate. We'll talk about the exact processes in a little bit. I talked about astral travel a little bit in kind of a woo-woo sense, but we're going to talk about it from the straight witchin' standpoint. So this is the materials you will need. You'll need olive oil. You guys got that?
I do, actually. I just bought some.
I do.
I was
You're
kind of
gonna
hoping
need-
to cook with it, but whatever.
Is garlic olive oil fine?
See, that the problem is garlic is a purifying agent, and it might keep your soul flesh bound.
Limit me.
Right. Salt, you got that?
Yes.
Cinnamon, you got that?
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Sage,
I have all this.
I think
chamomile,
Yep.
clear quartz,
No.
paint,
Might have to
Yes.
go get some clear quartz.
a small bottle,
Yes.
dandelion leaves,
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
and lots of mugwort.
Okay,
thought
so
you
I
were
have
gonna
everything.
say acid.
Yeah, I can get acid. I don't know where I can get mugwort.
I mean,
think
mugwort
can
will
get,
make you trip.
I think I can get the clear
I think.
crystal at this every month or every Sunday. 13th does that like street market. I think I can get a good crystal down there.
Okay. And this is the process as revealed to us by Catty from Amino Apps. .com/C/pagan stash witches. They say, disclaimer, do not use essential oil because it will irate the skin. That means irritate. I filled the bottle slightly more than halfway full with olive oil. Only a few drops of lemongrass oil is needed. So they say, yes, lemongrass oil. I put the clear quartz crystal in before the herbs since it's easier to fit. Then I placed plenty of mugwort and only a little of dandelion leaves into the bottle. Before I cut the leaves into small pieces. That's a great way to write a recipe. Is to say, add the salt, but not before adding the garlic. Anyway, later I added a pinch of cinnamon and salt. Lastly, I put as much chamomile and sage as would fit. The sigil that I drew painted on the bottom of the bottle has the phrase, I am astral projecting. So you'll basically want to paint the bottle with a sigil that is expressing intent, according to this person.
A skull with a taco in its mouth.
Sure, taco skull.
Hell yeah.
This person says, I suggest you leave the bottle alone for a week or two, or at least a couple of days, because that's what I've read. But as long as the herbs get absorbed by the oils, go ahead and use it. Smelling it might help you find out if it is ready. I see.
Yeah. You're infusing the oil. You definitely want to do this. As someone who's infused oil before, you want it to sit for a good 2 weeks, I would say, for this recipe. But I'm sure you can make by with a week.
Probably in a cool, dark place, typically.
Yes. After you've done this, you can basically use this oil to help or aid to lubricate the body to let your soul just kind of shoot out. Squirt right out of there. How do you do this?
Go-gurt that soul.
Go-gurt the soul right out of that shit. Now, you want to be careful because you might do it a little wrong and accidentally your skeleton will get out. You don't want that. Skeletons are supposed to stay in. And if they get out, they cause all kinds of trouble.
Skeleton's going to get out at night when you sleep anyway.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Go on its skeleton route.
Cavort in the moonlight, playing xylophones, dancing in the graveyard. Okay, so how do you do that? There are a few methods to astral travel according to various pagan and Wiccan traditions. This is from dazeddigital.com/beauty. And this is the Dazed Digital Guide to Astral Projection.
In the beauty section of their website.
They have a section called How to Astral Travel, and they outlined several methods here. We're going to go through them. We'll eventually get to what is called the herbal method, which is what this oil will help with. How to astral travel. The belly button method. Okay.
Turn your innie into an outie.
Good Lord. All right, everybody take your belly button.
All right.
This method requires you to reach a trance-like state, also known as a hypnagogic state. Some people will tell you that this salve or witch grease will help with that. Make sure you are relaxed at the edge of wakefulness and sleep and begin to flex your hands and feet with your mind without physically moving them. Try a few more times until you begin to notice a separation between the body you are imagining being flexed and your physical body. Next, move to your belly button. Next, take your belly button and lift yourself out from it, as though the flexing body were tied to it by an invisible umbilical string. When you feel yourself lifting out, cut the string with imagined scissors and enjoy your flight.
Which is kind of, it's not quite the same, but it's similar to like aligning your chakras.
Yes. Also, I don't know about cutting the string with imagined scissors. I've been told that you're supposed to maintain a silver thread so you can find your way back.
How far do you want to fly, Jordan?
That's a good question.
Do you think Edgar Casey kept the string attached when he went to Venus?
My string's coming down. I'm flying away to Venus. Oh, no. Next up, the hammock method. This method requires you to imagine yourself on a hammock. Lady,
All right.
I'm
AKA
already
the Homer
there.
Simpson.
The Homer Simpson, exactly. This is called the Astral Homer. You're on a hammock woven with threads of iridescent light. Okay, Roger?
Okay.
Positioned between two calming trees of your choosing. What kind of trees are they, Roger?
Oh, cedar.
Cedar trees. The astral realm, in all of its mystery and wonder, lies beneath you. It's like an ocean. Imagine yourself rocking back and forth, slowly reaching a relaxed vibrational state. When you feel completely relaxed between the rocking, gently roll yourself out of the hammock, where you will land feet first in the astral sea. Did you do it?
Oh, I did everything but that last part. And I got to
okay.
say, with you instructing it, it was kind of relaxing.
We do need you here for the podcast. There is an astral version of this podcast, but it's all light and experience.
It's backwards.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's all concept. Okay, that's the hammock method. Next up, the rope method. This technique, formulated by Robert Bruce, not Robert the Bruce, just Robert Bruce, is one of the most effective techniques for astral travel. Imagine an invisible imaginary rope hanging from your ceiling.
Okay.
The rope will be used to exert dynamic pressure at a single point on your astral body to force its separation from the physical. I don't really know what that means.
All right. Well, when I imagine a rope hanging from my ceiling, it's usually a much darker scenario.
This is a pretty dark.
That's what I was going to say,
Try to
too.
keep it light. Try to keep it positive. When you're doing this method. Once you are able to reach the rope, start climbing it as you pull yourself out of your body. Keep climbing the rope until you are able to see your physical body lying still in front of you. Then unpeel yourself from your earthly ties and journey.
That's horrifying.
Yeah,
that feels like a
unpeeling.
Just like
Monstroco project.
start up
Monstroco
top and
brand
start
astral
peeling.
rope.
Truly.
Self-peeling rope.
Yeah. Okay, next up, the herbal method. If you know what I mean.
Celestial seasonings.
Get it going. This method can use any of the above methods with the additional use of lucid dreaming herbal concoctions. That's right, the witch grease, baby. Grease it on up. Hop in the shower, get good and greasy, and then you are going to do the following. This person actually has a little bit of a recipe too. They say, I create a homemade blend of Mexican dream herb.
Looking it up.
Okay. I mean,
It's
do
definitely
you
weed.
buy that by the lid?
Mexican dream herb, Egyptian blue lotus, as well as freshly foraged, you guessed it, mugwort, baby. Mugwort and passion flower they use. All herbs which have been used for centuries for divinatory and lucid dreaming purposes and are not dissimilar from the principal ingredients of witches' flight ointments, aka witch grease. This is a slightly less poisonous version, apparently.
That
This
Mexican
blend-
dream herb cures anorexia, upset
Whoa.
stomach, diabetes,
Diarrhea.
periodic fevers, diarrhea, bile problems, and skin diseases. And that's not from a crazy website. That's from a semi-crazy website called the
WebMD.
Canadian Science Publishing.
Well, I'll be danged. So you make a potion of Blue Dream and Sticky Icky, and this blend can either be drunk before sleeping as a tea or smoked with tobacco.
Split it up, baby.
And will help you get to lucidly unwind yourself from your spool of mundane dreams and into the astral. Next up, and perhaps the spookiest one, the forgetting everything you know method. This is also called men in blacking, I believe. Men in blacking out. This is a step that is often excluded from astral travel guides, and it is namely the importance of allowing space for spontaneity and coincidence. As a child, one of the first indicators of my psychicness was my ability to frequently astral travel. Same. I used to be able to do this when I was a kid. I began my bedroom I began in my bedroom above my physical body, and later in all different realms and dimensions, or even at times to my friends' homes who would join me in flight. When I grew older and discovered my spontaneous flights had a name and their own personal doctrines, lore, and methodologies, some of the magic was lost. Yeah, really? And I was unable to travel as freely as I could before. Interesting. One night, I asked my guides to help me astral travel again. That night, instead of falling into the dizzying, familiar warmth of the astral realms, I had a dream where I was climbing the astral ladder, located in an archaic library, perhaps the Akashic Records.
Woo.
As I climbed the ladder, books would fall and tumble below me, and with each step closer to the astral, the shelves would completely empty themselves. The next morning, I awoke and burned all of my books, notes, and relearnings of the realms. Dramatic. I stopped actively trying to astral travel and halted my attempts to learn everything I could on the topic. A few weeks later, spontaneously, I began being able to astral travel again.
Too much study changes your brain vibes or something? Like
Apparently.
you get too analytical about it? It's more of a muscle?
Isabella Greenwood says, the message is clear. The more we know, the less we are able to explore realms that we cannot ever fully conceptualize or understand. When all else fails, forget everything you know. Burn it in the fire, and the flight will find you sure enough, as it always does, somewhere above your phantom umbilical cord, below ceilingless skies, and within a world of boundless magic and wingless flight.
And that's when the hawk sound comes on and a ripping guitar solo.
This was written by Isabella Greenwood, a priestess, sorceress, and spellcaster. And then we have a link to her Instagram. So what is this astral realm? Where are we going? What are we looking for out there? This is from the Wikipedia about the astral plane. The astral plane, also called the astral realm or the astral world, is a plane of existence postulated by classical, medieval, oriental, and esoteric philosophies and mysterious religions. Didn't realize we were still using the word oriental, but here we are.
I was going to call Wikipedia out for
Quickly,
that.
to the AP style book.
It is the world of celestial spheres crossed by the soul in its astral body. What is an astral body? It is a subtle body posited by many philosophers, intermediate between the intelligent soul and the mental body. Composed of a subtle material, in many recensions, the concept ultimately derives from the philosophy of Plato, blah, blah, blah. It's a ghost. On the way
it's
to being
also a wicked, sick, horned up teen movie from the 80s.
Astral Bodies, baby. Crossed by the soul in its astral body on the way to being born and after death. So before you're born and after you die, you return to your astral body. It is generally believed to be populated by angels, spirits, or other immaterial beings, and we'll get to that in a little bit. In the late 19th and early 20th century, the term was popularized by theosophy, and Neo-Rosicrucianism, but we don't really care about that. Astral experience. According to various occult teachings, the astral plane can be visited consciously through, you guessed it, astral projection, slathering yourself in weed grease, and jump in the keyhole. Astral projection, meditation, mantra, near-death experience, lucid dreaming, hypnosis, or other means. Don't know what those other means are. Maybe, Los Drogas or like tantric boinking or something. Individuals that are trained in the use of the astral vehicle. Don't know what that is. There's no link to that one.
I'm looking it up.
I'm imagining like Wonder Woman's invisible plane, probably.
Oh, it is a van that has a wizard painted on the side.
And then you look closer and the wizard is you, man. Maybe a key or a broomstick in this case. Those trained in the use of the astral vehicle can separate their consciousness in the astral vehicle from the physical body at will. The first stage in development, according to William Walker Atkinson, also known as Yogi Ramacharaka, is, quote, mastery of the physical body and its care and attention, which means you're going to have to exercise, which I'm sorry. Which pertains not only to the physical body, but also to its double in the astral. In addition, one must spend time tuning the instinctive mind. The first three subdivisions of the instinctive mind are passions, desires, and lusts. So get into that bathroom and start tuning that instinctive mind, y'all. The second stage is the intellect, otherwise known as the sharpening of the mind. Someone operating largely out of the instinctive mind would, quote, have only a glimmering of intellect. Therefore, those who are centered in the intellect would have only an inkling of the spiritual. I feel like this is where I'm at. I feel like I rely too much on what I can see and hear and figure out, and I don't focus too much on spiritual and instinctual things, though I am aware of them. Once both stages are complete, the spiritual mind can be awakened. In early theosophical literature, the term astral may refer to the ether. Y'all know about this ether?
I heard about this ether.
According to ancient medieval science, ether, also known as the fifth element, love that movie, is a material that fills the region of the universe beyond the terrestrial sphere. The concept of ether was used in several theories to explain several natural phenomena. Later they actually used to think that stars were made of ether. Certain philosophers postulated that it was like earth, air, fire, water, and then a fifth element called ether that made up, like stars were made of it, which I don't think they really even realized that they were theorizing plasma
until like the 1890s. They thought that there was an ether they mean technically there is, that's the plasma that they theorized, but that even then they're all like, ether's out there and it affects the speeds of planetary bodies, and I'll prove it.
That's a little bit on what the astral plane is, and just a touch of what you might expect out there. I wanted to go a little deeper. I wanted to see what, when you get there, what things to do in Denver when you're astral projecting.
What kind of restaurants do they have going on?
Yeah.
Can I get tacos in the astral plane?
Is there a nice little quiet speakeasy situation to where me and my lady can have a good scotch?
Do they have an M&M store? I went looking for these answers and more, and I found a great website, a blog post, rather, should I say. This is from streetdirectory.com. And this is
this is official.
This is a post called "Those Amazing Creatures, Denizens of the Astral Plane." That's right. We're going yokai hunter Pokemon style. I'm going to tell you about what and who you might expect to meet in the astral plane, which is really the meat of this whole Witchtober segment, because this is who the witches are hanging out with. They're invoking, they're asking for favors, or just hanging out, just getting along, just learning. So here we go. You can meet all these inhabitants and even interact with some of them. Some of these entities may be completely indifferent to your presence. Some may be friendly, and others hostile. It is important to remember that these entities can cause you no harm whatsoever. Tell that to the Babadook, am I right?
Huh?
Let us arrange this immense variety of beings into human and non-human and artificial entities. So A, human. You might run into other astral travelers there. We'll talk about it a little later. Meeting humans in the astral plane is a fascinating experience. You might run into A, sleepers. These are people who are untrained in the art of astral projection. They are dreaming more or less unconsciously and are not aware that they are on the astral plane. If you happen to meet them, you will mostly find them in a daze, wandering aimlessly. They float dreamily about, tossed by the various astral currents, occasionally recognizing other people in a similar condition. They may not respond to your gestures. If you meet someone you know and try to talk to him, he may or may not recognize you. In the morning, he might just remember having a dream about you. These dreamers meet with experiences of all sorts, pleasant and unpleasant. They wake up the next day with either a wonderful dream or a grotesque nightmare. You may meet with A2. a conscious astral traveler. They are people who know that they are out of their bodies. This is your have you dreamed this man situation.
That'd be us, though, right? Like there'd be another.
Right.
I might have misunderstood, but it'd be us to. We're like, we're doing it on purpose. So are you?
Right. You'd meet another guy's like, hey, you astral traveling? Yeah, dog. All right. Astral high five. They are people who know that they are out of their bodies. They may be new to the astral plane, or they may be quite advanced. If you meet any of the advanced beings, they will help you in your spiritual path. There is also a class of conscious projectors who use their powers for purely selfish purposes instead of for the benefit of humanity. Black magicians. Seems problematic. Their pupils and some clandestine tribes fall under this category. Clandestine tribes. Interesting. The dream walkers, the dream fondlers.
In my head, I pictured a group of indigenous Americans, but with Splinter Cell gear, and like just decked out with night vision goggles, ready to go clandestine.
Hell yeah. You may run into A3, the dead. The word dead is a misnomer. These people are not dead and are very much alive, just like us. The only difference between them and us is that they don't have a physical body to return to. Many of us have had dreams of deceased relatives. In such dreams, the dreamer and the deceased are both in the astral plane and are attracted to each other by strong emotional ties.
So ghosts.
If you meet any human in the astral plane, you may want to determine if he is unconscious, conscious, or dead. The best way to approach him is with some questions. You may ask him his name, phone number, or address, or even the date. If the answers are all garbled, you probably have met a dreamer. If the answers are quite logical, you've probably met a conscious astral projector. If you can remember the answers for yourself, you may try contacting the person here on the physical plane and verify if this person actually exists. To be sure you met a deceased person, get his name, the era in which he lived, his address, and if possible, other details of his life. Then, again, presuming you can remember all this information upon waking, if you can verify this information, then you can be sure that you met a deceased person.
Imagine getting a phone call from some asshole you met on the astral plane.
I knew I shouldn't have given this guy my phone number.
On the astral plane. How
yeah.
often does that happen? Is that like the major occurrence to be like, you, what's your name?
Yeah.
And
give me your phone number. You got to have a fake astral phone number ready to go, basically.
Yes.
You may run into B, a non-human. In the astral, there exist entities which never were human and never will be, for they belong to an entirely different order of nature. B1, fairies and nature spirits. Some of the nature spirits inhabit streams, rocks, mountains, forests, etc. Folklore of all nations believe in them. Their occasional appearance to persons of psychic temperament has given rise to the numerous tales and legends. This class of astral entities avoids the presence of man and prefer the solitudes of nature. There are some nature spirits who like to help people, while there are others who find delight in playing elvish, childish pranks. Sorry, elfish, not elvish. These spirits are not hostile and are generally peace-loving. They are called by different names: fairies, pixies, elves, brownies, peries, djinn, troll, satyr, faun, kobold, imps, goblins, little folk, tiny people, gnomes. I think we did gnomes already. Sylphs, undines,
Johnny
salamanders,
Knoxville,
etc.
the guys from
Pete Davidson.
Incredulous Jokers or whatever.
Yeah.
Impractical.
Martin Short, quite elfish. You may run into B2, astral bodies of animals. This is an extremely large class, and you may bump into them during your projections. They do not occupy a particularly important position on the astral plane because they usually stay there for a short time. Wow. Slam on animals out of nowhere. B3, angels. It is very rare to find angels on lower and middle astral realms. You find them mainly on higher realms. They are there to guide you and protect you. They help you in your progress. Doesn't really say what they are, but I imagine they're just, if elves and fairies are natives to the basic astral sea, this is a society living in a higher level of astral consciousness.
But are they like biblical angels that are quite terrifying?
Doesn't seem. Well, I mean, it doesn't say, but there's not much biblical reference going on here. If anything, I would say yes, in the sense that it's probably something that your mind can scarcely comprehend.
And it chooses to go into something you find beautiful to settle your goddamn cowardly human brain.
Yeah, you'll see it, and it'll be eyes on eyes and wheels within wheels, and it'll see you scream, and then it'll be like, "Be not afraid, I'm Macho Man now."
Macho Man Randy Savage lifting me to the 12th Aeon? Holy shit.
You can do it, little brother.
Right into that shit. B4, demons and the like. They are entities of the lowest order and are only found in the lowest regions of the lower astral. In most cases, if you ever happen to be in the lower astral, you will not be able to stay there for long because your rate of vibration will be much higher and you will be propelled to the middle or higher realms. But if you do encounter any such unwanted entities, just remember that they do not have any power to hurt you. Just command them to go away and they will vanish. They get attracted to feeble souls and try to frighten them. If you are strong and know that no harm can come to you, you can continue with your projection without problems. Doesn't say what will happen if you're not strong. I imagine
this seems
get
like
frightened and they feed upon that.
Yeah, it seems like a fairly dangerous way to go about it. Just like, you have no power over me.
I guess, if that's okay with
shoved
you.
Into a locker.
Totally cool if not.
No, they can't hurt you. You shove yourself into the locker.
Yeah, wow. Oof, it's deep. And C, finally, you may encounter artificial entities or elementals. Artificial entities or elementals are astral matter which can be formed into almost any form by the power of thought or emotion. This one's a little trickier to grasp. These artificial entities are not born in nature, but they are the creations of the minds of men and women. This is a very Wang-centric article.
Masculocentric.
Listen, we're going into the manosphere. Have women ever created an elemental?
Join me. I'm Randy Savage. Join me in the dudosphere. People who manifest strong desire, accompanied by definite mental pictures of that which they desire, create the majority of these elementals or thought forms. It's a tulpa, basically.
Okay.
Right.
They create them unconsciously.
Without any sort of physical form. It's just
an astral tulpa.
There.
Right. Although these astral forms can present themselves in the physical world. You can see, I actually put on my Instagram story a picture of all these vines that had grown up around a street light, and it looked like this hunched figure.
Yes.
And my first thought was, that's an elemental that's a powerful elemental presenting itself in the physical plane.
I know exactly that picture. Phenomenal picture. It rolls around all the time. Spooks me every time.
It's very spooky. Very cool. It's so cool that I think somebody must have like groomed it that way.
Good for you.
Or it's an elemental or a fairy presenting itself in the material plane.
Groomed itself that way.
Yeah, right? Dang. Okay. Where was I? Blah, 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 blah. People who manifest strong desire accompanied by definite mental pictures of that which they desire create the majority of these elementals or thought forms unconsciously. But many have learned the art of consciously creating them, either for good or bad. Strong wishes for good as well as strong curses for evil manifest into the astral. But such thought forms are under the law of thought attraction and go only where they are attracted. So be careful of what your thoughts are during your projections. If you go in angry, you're going to end up, with some angry elementals around you. If you meet any such elementals, you will find that they do not have volition of their own and may not respond to you. They may take ghastly form and try to scare you, but cannot harm you in any way. With a strong will, you can make them disappear. I invoke thee, vanish! The very thought of meeting other people on the astral plane might be creepy. We are always scared in the face of the unknown, but one thing is certain. As you get more proficient at projecting and accustom yourself to the OOBE realm, I think that means out-of-body experience realm.
Out-of-body, yeah.
You will become less and less afraid of what you encounter them there. All experienced projectors will vouch that no harm can come to you during your projections. So you should keep an explorer's attitude during your out-of-body travels, and there will be no limits to what you can learn and where you can go. And that does it for my section that I'm calling Which, What, Where. There is also, if you're interested in this type of thing, I do suggest that, you don't just whip up a batch of this shit.
You should probably be worried about the amount of mugwort you're slathering on your body.
I don't think it's that bad for you.
Some people say that you can achieve a similar effect using straight up psychedelics, but again, do your research. I'm not telling anybody to try any of this, but if you were to, get a book, join a group, do some reading. There's a great book on Amazon, which I'm going to purchase, called A Witch's Travel Guide to the Astral Realms, which I think could be a pretty good source for this type of thing. I'm intrigued. I want to astral travel. I want to blast off. I want to meet a gnome.
You want to smoke some mugwort.
I want to smoke some mugwort and high five a gnome. I want to go in there with the sharpest hat of all.
Thanks to Monstroco Hat Sharpener.
Mm-hmm. So who's next?
Nate, you go next. I'll end with two ghost stories or so.
I fling you the skull through the keyhole.
I catch it on 2 fingers in its mouth. It's bitey, but it's also gummy. Glad we knocked those teeth out of this thing last week. I have an article. It's not paranormal per se, but it is from Atlas Obscura.
Right.
It is the monks who spent years turning themselves into mummies while alive.
Oh, yeah. Good Lord. Is this Malefication?
It's not.
Oh, okay.
It's quite a bit different, actually.
Okay. Dope.
But it does take place in Japan. The Japanese climate is not exactly conducive to mummification. There are no peat bogs, no arid deserts, no alpine peaks perennially encased in ice. The summers are hot and humid. Yet somehow a group of Buddhist monks from the Shingon sect discovered a way to mummify themselves through rigorous ascetic training in the shadow of a particularly sacred peak in the mountainous northern prefecture of Yamagata. Between 1081 and 1903, at least 17 monks, so we've got a widespread here, 900 years or so. At least 17 monks managed to mummify themselves. The number may well be higher, however, as it is likely some mummies were never recovered from the Alpine tombs. These monks undertook such a practice in emulation of a 9th century monk named Kukai, known posthumously as Kobo Daishi, who founded the esoteric Shingon school of Buddhism in 806. In the 11th century, a hagiography of Kukai appeared claiming that upon his death in 835, the monk did not die at all, but crawled into his tomb and entered Nyujo, a state of meditation so profound that it induces suspended animation. Possibly astral projecting. We don't know. According to this hagiography, Kukai plans to emerge, this is fantastic, plans to emerge in approximately 5.67 million years to usher a predetermined number of souls into nirvana.
Okay, well, he's got a plan and he's sticking to it.
Presumably. I mean, we got to wait another 5.67 something million years.
That's how you find the true believers. Make them wait.
The first recorded attempt at becoming and I could be mispronouncing this, Sokushinbutsu, or a Buddha in this very body, through the act of self-mummification took place in the late 11th century. In 1081, a man named Shojin attempted to follow Kukai into Nyujo by burying himself alive. He, too, was hoping to come back in a far distant future for the good of mankind. But when Shojin's disciples went to retrieve the body, rot had set in. It would take nearly 2 more centuries of trial and error before someone figured out how to mummify himself and, they believed, cheat death and enter a state of eternal meditation.
Dang.
I don't have that mindset. This boggles my goddamn mind. Like the mindset to where like, nah, I'm going to bury myself and I'm going to become a mummy.
Yeah, I mean, like kudos to him.
Yeah, it's a dedication and mental strength I don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's, I mean, of all the ghoulies you could pick to become, a mummy is pretty far down on the list, you know.
Unless you like naps. One long nap, then you terrorize a small community of Egyptian people.
Yeah.
Or in this case, members of the Yamagata Prefecture.
In this case.
The process of self-mummification is long and arduous, taking at minimum 3 years of preparation before death. Central to this preparation is a diet called, and this was a word I'm definitely going to fuck up, Mokojikigyo?
Oh.
Literally tree-eating training.
Whoa. Far out. I'll eat some trees. Let's party.
Yeah, some trees taste good.
Oh, yeah.
This diet can be traced through Shugendo to the Taoist practice of abstention from cultivated grains.
I see.
For 1,000 days, the Mokojikigyo diet limits practitioners to only what can be foraged on the mountains, namely nuts, buds, and roots from trees. Some sources also report that berries may have entered the diet, as well as tree bark and pine needles. Time not spent foraging for food was passed in meditation on the mountain. From a spiritual perspective, this regimen was intended to toughen the spirit and distance oneself from the common human world. From a biological point of view, the severe diet rid the body of fat, muscle, and moisture, while also withholding nutrients from the body's natural biosphere of bacteria and parasites. So basically, you're destroying all of what's in your gut so that it can't eat you after you die.
Makes sense. Okay. You're going to have to do that.
That's wild. This is blowing my mind, kind of.
At the completion of a 1,000-day cycle on this diet, practitioners were considered spiritually ready to enter Nyujo. However, most monks completed 2 or even 3 cycles to fully prepare themselves. After the final cycle, the devout would cut out all food, drink a limited amount of salinized water for 100 days.
Oh.
100 days without food, apparently.
Brutal.
And otherwise meditate upon the salvation of mankind while waiting to die.
Good Lord. Wow.
Well, shouldn't be much farther after this.
Do you remember that Mr. Show sketch about the guy who goes on a hunger strike? And it's David Cross.
I don't off the top of my head, but I'm sure I've seen it.
He's like all feeble and he looks all starving. And he's like, I just want my people to know that when I die, to bury me in mashed potatoes. It's very funny. I feel like that's how I would be on like day 4. He's like, I used to hate water chestnuts. Now I would eat 100 buckets of them.
Many believe that some adherents at this stage drank tea made from Toxicodendron verniculum tree bark, which is a kind of sumac, the Japanese lacquer tree. It's called such because it's used to make traditional Japanese lacquer, or urushi. Its bark contains the same toxic compound that makes poison ivy so poisonous. If ingested by these monks, urushi tea would have both hastened death and made the body even less hospitable to the bacteria and parasites that aid in decomposition. When the devout felt death approaching, his disciples would lower him into a pine box at the bottom of a pit 3 meters deep in a predetermined spot. They would then pack charcoal around the box, insert a bamboo airway through the lid, and bury their master alive.
Wow.
Sitting in total darkness, the monk would meditate and regularly ring a bell to signal that he was still alive. When the ringing ceased, the disciples would open the tomb to confirm their master's death, remove the bamboo airway, and seal the tomb.
Wow.
1,000 days later,
Whoa.
the monk would be disinterred and inspected for signs of decay.
Oh.
If any such signs were found, the body would be exorcised and reinterred with little fanfare.
They scrapped it and started over.
However, if not, the body was determined to be a true Sokushinbutsu and enshrined. The last person to become a Sokushinbutsu did so illegally.
Oh.
A monk named Bukai died in 1903, more than 3 decades after the ritual act was criminalized during the Meiji Restoration, because the new government deemed it barbaric and backwards.
Bukai, we can't help but notice that you're getting pretty mummy. Are you? Are you? Do I have to say it? No, I'm not. I swear I'm not. I see you're drinking a limited amount of partially salinated water there. Are you? No. Now leave me alone. I must retire to my pine box.
By then, Japan
Hilarious.
had entered the modern age, and most people considered Bukai more madman than sage.
I mean, they're doing it to help humanity 5 million years in the
Years from
future.
now.
But like, it does seem like these are the thoughts of a madman.
I've also got to ask, how does this help humanity?
Yeah. I mean, because humanity is going to go through some ebbs and flows, and they're going to be there to be like, listen, guys, here's how we did it.
Yeah,
in the year 1600
or anything, but they're not, it's not like we're going to get to a point in humanity where we're like, we're running out of mummies.
Presumably, they have meditated for so long that they can actually induce nirvana in other people.
Oh, that's
At
right.
will.
That's right.
That would help.
This is an
for some of that.
enlightenment situation.
Anyway, back to Bukai. His remains were not disinterred until 1961.
Wow.
So well over the 1,000-day mark, by a team of researchers from Tohoku University who were amazed by Bukai's pristine condition. So he pulled it off.
Nice. It can be done.
Though he entered Yojo and Yamagata, his remains now rest in Kanzeonji, maybe I'm pronouncing it correctly. I don't know. In neighboring Niigata Prefecture, there are 16 extant Sokushinbutsu in Japan, 13 of which are preserved in the Tohoku region. 7 of the 8 found in Yamagata remain in the vicinity of Mount Udono, making it the ideal place for a pilgrimage.
What a fucking stunt, man. What a move. I mean, you see these dudes in the X Games doing like fucking, vert pipe and shit. I would watch this event.
Mummification.
You watch this man drink lacquer for 1,000 days.
6-month event of a guy just fucking going for it. Oh my God, he's mummifying by the second.
Well, and if you want to
landing, 10 months later, he's disinterred. Not a sign of rot on him. Gold medal.
If you want to see some of them, you can.
Huh? Wow.
The oldest and best preserved of these mummified monks can be found at Dainichibo, mentioned above. His name is Shin Yokai. He entered Nyojo in 1783 at the age of 96.
Ooh.
Which are also living to 96 in the 1700s.
Yeah.
That is already a feat of
It's some
itself.
powerful shit. Yeah.
Apple a day.
Keeps the lacquer on the bark tree. Like all the others, he sits in the lotus position behind glass in a box on a small shrine within the temple that looks after him. His skin is an ashen gray, pulled taut over the bones of his hands, wrists, and face. Tab has crashed. Reload, son of a bitch.
No.
There's I just now realized there is a one of the characters in Dragon Quest XI becomes one of these guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the lecherous king of the land
Oh, okay.
becomes this through deep meditation
Sure.
and training, and then they find him just totally mummified, supposedly living, and they throw some water on him, and he just gets all awake.
Oh, crazy.
So maybe if we pour some water on these dudes, that's how you wake them up.
Yeah,
And then they will help humanity reach nirvana.
and they'll be like, has it been 5.67 million years yet?
And by the look
No.
of things, he'll be like, yeah, look at the buildings now. You don't know how much
Yeah,
time has
dog.
passed.
Check my shit, dude.
Look at this iPhone I have.
Check my shit, dude.
All right, we're back up. Back to Shinyokai. His mouth is stretched into an eternal jackal's grin. His
Ugh.
face turned towards his lap.
Ah.
That sounds horrifying.
That sounds fucking scary.
Shinyokai's elaborate robes are ritually changed every 6 years, twice as often as all the other Sokushinbutsu. The old robes are cut into small squares and placed inside padded silk pouches that can be purchased for 1,000 yen as protective amulets, which I believe is around
1,000
$10.
yen's cheap. Yeah, that's $10.
Testimonials sent in by people swearing by these talismans' miraculous effects are plastered around the base of Shinyokai's shrine. Another Sokushinbutsu, Tetsumonkai, resides at nearby Chirenji, also mentioned above. I believe in the pictures is where it's mentioned. I don't know. Tetsumonkai entered Nyojo in 1829 at the age of 71, and of all the Sokushinbutsu, his life is perhaps the best documented. Tetsumonkai was a commoner who killed a samurai and ran away to join the priesthood, an act that allowed him full legal protection.
That's what I'm talking about. Kill a lord, become a priest. They can't do shit against you.
Kill a lord,
And then you kill an evil priest, become a lord again. You do the swip swap.
Round and round we go.
Later, Tetsumonkai visited the capital city of Edo, aka Tokyo now. There he heard about an ophthalmic disease afflicting the city and gouged out his own left eye as an act of merit that might counteract the malady. Incredibly,
What a good dude. What a good misled dude.
Really.
well, check this out. Incredibly, Tetsumonkai is one of several Sokushinbutsu to auto-enucleate or remove one's own eye as a
Wow.
charitable act.
Wow.
What do their eyes do? How are they so powerful?
I mean, it's like it's magic. He feels that there's some sort of
it's
like
magic.
pink eyes going around Edo.
My
So he pulls out
eye.
his eye
Yeah.
in order to entreat the gods to cure it.
Yeah.
Tetsumonkai once served as head priest at Hanmyoji, a short drive from where his remains are now kept. Here he was charged with looking after another Sokushinbutsu, Hanmyokai, the oldest self-mummified monk in Yamagata. The samurai-turned-priest Hanmyokai spent a mind-boggling 20 years in ascetic training until May 8th, 1681, when his disciples lowered him, delirious with hunger, into a pit behind the temple and buried him alive.
Mashed potatoes.
A massive moss-covered stone epitaph marks the site where Hanmyokai entered Nyojo, amid a grove of pine trees only a few dozen meters beyond the hall where his remains are now displayed. These three Sokushinbutsu, are by far the closest to Mount Udono and the sites of their respective training. Dainichibo and Chirenji are accustomed to tourists, and on weekends, visitors are likely to encounter gaggles of retirees being ushered on and off the air-conditioned coaches that stop by these temples on their way to or from Mount Udono.
Retirees.
It's also called Mount You Don't Know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was thinking that several times. I'd be like, what a great name.
That's very good.
I almost made a joke about it, and I thought, I don't know.
You thought it was too cheap. I'll jump on those jokes.
You don't know? I don't know about that joke. The 500 yen admission Dainichibo and Chirenji each charge, along with sales from protective amulets and other trinkets, keep the temple doors open and their history alive. Hanmyoji charges no admission and receives fewer guests, but they're still happy to show off their wish-granting mummy. The temples are,
wish.
Also there's wish-granting.
And this is our wish-granting mummy. Oh, it's very nice. You don't have one?
The temples are happy with the attention and even went so far as to issue Sokushinbutsu stamp card in 2015, along with Nangakuji in the nearby city of Tsuruoka, to encourage visitors to stop by all four temples. So you can get a little fun stamp if you go visit all of the mummies.
Yeah.
Werewolf Radar road trip. Let's drive. Let's drive to Japan.
Fire it up.
Nangakuji houses Tetsuro Yukai, who was mummified in 1878, a decade after the practice was made illegal. Tetsuro Yukai died of illness before he could complete his training, and so is not technically Sokushinbutsu. His body is artificially treated in order to better preserve it, and the relatively simple shrines surrounding his remains offer the closest look one can get of a mummified monk in Yamagata.
Okay.
Tetsuro Yukai's failure to properly enter Nyujo is written all over his face, the skin of which is peeling away from his nasal cavity.
Yikes.
Super glue's gonna fix that. Let Werewolf Radar get in there. We'll fix him right up.
Yowza.
Kaikoji houses two Sokushinbutsu, Shukai, who died in 1755, and his former disciple, Enmyokai, who died in 1822, now sit side by side in eternal meditation.
Oh,
Despite their difference in age, you'd think that they were brothers. They have that same taut, glossy, and blackened skin, as well as the same bony hands, sunken eyes, and gaping, toothy mouths.
Oh, yeah, I think I know
You
why.
know, from rotting.
Yeah.
They're brother. They're obviously related. That's what they looked like when they lived.
Anyway, that's the story of the Sokushinbutsu, the self-made mummy monks.
Self-made mummy. Pull yourself up by your bandages. Wow, crazy.
All right.
Human beings are pretty fucking impressive.
Well, they'll do wonderful things.
Mm-hmm.
I got some ghost stories now I want to end on, if that's okay.
I wish you would.
Okay,
Yes,
so
yes.
this series of ghost stories is compiled by the Today Show and their writer Sarah Lemire.
All right, so this isn't from Meredith Vieira herself.
This is not, sadly. This is from Sarah Lemire.
I honestly don't know who's on the Today Show anymore anyway, so...
Next episode of Werewolf Radar, we deep dive into the Today Show.
What secrets do they know?
Al
This
Roker's
from us.
poltergeist. The Rokergeist.
This first story is called The Ghost Truck Stop. On his way to get married, a military man and his best friend set off on an 800-mile road trip from Camp Lahuna in North Carolina to Lafayette, Indiana.
Right. I believe it's Camp Lejeune. And
Lejeune.
If you drink the water there anytime in the last 50 years, you're apparently part of a class action lawsuit.
Well, these two people who are part of a class action lawsuit drove in 2014 to Indiana, and they this is actually from or originally was told on Monsters Among Us. They called the hotline at 1 a.m. and told this or nope, let me say that again. This article is written weirdly. So they told Monsters Among Us that on 1 a.m. the weather was unusually bad and temperatures were in the negative double digits. As the pair closed in on Indianapolis, they discovered that they had no money to pay for gas to refuel their car and were about to run out completely. Growing up in the trucking industry with my dad, one of them said, I decided to stop at a truck stop. I wonder what would happen if he didn't grow up in the trucking industry, if he would have kept driving.
Everyone knows about the common charity of truckers.
There's no way to get food or gas out here. I don't understand it.
So the real reason is because the main interstates were shut down due to weather and they had to get off the highway and search for a truck stop along back roads instead. They were able to find a smaller truck stop. It had one truck and it was just kind of strange. This is their words. It was just a blacked out truck with a blacked out trailer. There were no real markings on it and nothing distinguishable. They went in hoping the clerk or waitress would spot them a few dollars for gas, enough to make it to Indianapolis, at which time they would go to the bank, take out cash, and pay him back the loan. Inside, they found a tidy diner occupied by a waitress, a cook, and a lone truck driver. Their words, I went inside, I talked to this truck driver, he bought us a cup of coffee, and we sat there and talked for about 30 minutes about what was going on and why we were heading there, where we were, and what we were doing. He gave us $20 for gas.
Large Marge.
He gave us $20 for gas. They went outside, pumped the gas, came back in, told him, I really appreciate it. I'll be back. Making good on his word, the man got cash from the bank and then returned to the diner. When we arrived at around 10 o'clock in the morning, the diner was boarded up and looked like it had been abandoned for years.
Oh, shit.
While pulling away, they found a police officer parked in the lot, and the cop said that, while laughing, the cop said, oh, you met the ghost of 3.
So this is like a common thing over there?
This is a common thing that happens on a back road in Indianapolis. 3 people operate a ghost diner. You can interact with shit.
And you can borrow $20 that you never have to pay back.
You can borrow 20 ghost dollars to pay for your ghost gas, which is good enough for your car. Most modern cars will run on ghost gas.
It makes you wonder, I want to see that $20.
Ethanol is technically
how old was the 20, you know?
Who was on it? The Headless Horseman?
Supposedly, the cop said that the building had been boarded up for 25 years.
Ooh, nobody's had a cheeseburger in there for 25 years.
This next story we'll just jump into. Jeff, a resident of Dayton, Ohio, was driving with his 3-year-old son, Miles, in the back seat when they passed a cemetery, and it was a modest cemetery with only flowers and some small plaques. It basically looked like a giant garden, Jeff explained. According to Jeff, as they drove, his toddler, who had been happily singing, abruptly stopped and pointed to the cemetery, exclaiming, "Look at all those people."
Oh, no.
Wow.
Jeff turned to look, but didn't see a single person. Confused, he asked Miles what he was talking about, and Miles replied, "All those people over there. Sure are a lot of grandmas."
Whoa, come on.
As Jeff tells it, chills ran down his spine as he asked his son what the people were doing. Miles said, "They're all standing there, looking at the grass." Completely unsettled by the conversation, Jeff sped up and drove home. Later that same day, he says his son was watching TV when he turned around to Jeff and said, "You know, they weren't alive."
Wow. Yikes.
What a bummer of an afterlife to just be watching grass.
Truly.
Maybe they're like not staring at the grass truly, but like staring at their bodies, which they see for some reason, and going like, but I'm up here. Who's down there? And they're just kind of mystified, you know?
I mean, also a bummer, but way more macabre.
This next one, although Salem, Massachusetts, it's best known for its coffee and infamous witch trials. There have
Those
been
are the two things.
there. I added the coffee. It just said best known for its infamous witch trials. I should have said best known for its soap opera, which might take place in Seattle now that I think about it. Anyway, here is the story of Captain Joseph White, a wealthy merchant who was found bludgeoned to death in his bed. It was a crime motivated by money, according to Giovanni Alabiso, owner and tour guide of the Salem Historical Tours, who says the 82-year-old merchant was allegedly targeted by greedy brothers hoping to get their hands on his will. Brothers Joseph and Francis Snap enlisted the help of Richard Crowningshield to help get the job done. Late in the evening, when Captain White was asleep, Dick Crowningshield comes in. He goes upstairs to the second floor, takes a club, and bashes the captain over the head and crushes in his skull.
Oh boy, you don't want that.
You don't want it most times. I'm not going to say there's not a time where you do want it, because there might be, but most times you don't.
During a heavy migraine, maybe it might be satisfying.
The murder resulted in a scandalous trial and is said to be the inspiration for Edgar Allan Poe's A Telltale Heart, as well as the game Clue. However, despite any of the crime or revenge drama, they say that the spirit of Captain White is still said to wander the halls of his former home. People believe that Captain White is roaming around that house and protecting whatever treasure he reportedly has. Tourists have taken
to call him Mr. Body.
Tourists have taken photos of the house, and despite being empty, many photos reveal a shadowy figure, both male and female, in the windows of the Gardner Pingree house.
All at once?
All at once.
Got all the parts?
But it's crazy, man.
All right.
You think it's a third sex?
It's like
situation?
It's like that thing that that Socrates talks about. That's like a wheel and has like boobs and a wiener and all the sex parts.
Hey, you spin it around, hit something you like, spin it around, hit something you don't
Do you know
like.
what I'm
That's
talking
part
about?
of the
Does anybody
game.
know what I'm talking about?
I'm going to stop it there because I'm going to save this chilling tale about a ventriloquist doll for next time.
I've read that Goosebumps.
Oh, boy.
Oh, get ready for the adult version of R.L. Stein.
Ooh la la! Talk about sex parts.
And I'll put the squeaking skull away.
Back on its pedestal.
And Socrates.
I got to get out of here pretty quick, so we're gonna cut through all the bullshit and just say, put Werewolf Radar into Google. You'll see all of the things that we're up to. You can join us on Patreon. You can join us on Twitch on Mondays, twitch.tv/werewolf_radar. And, it'd be harder not to find us on the internet, quite frankly.
YouTube. You can find our Discord there.
Yeah, join us on
You can share with us. Or it's popping. We got all sorts of people
time there.
sharing stuff.
Absolutely. It is Grand Central Station for spooky gifs and vids, y'all. You can also go to werewolfradar.com and see what we're up to over there. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm never calling it X. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on Threads. Like I said, the internet. it's ours. Thank you for joining us. Shout out to our Dark Council members for your continued support. We love you so much, and you will have a space aboard the Dark Ship Survival dirigible when the shadows wash across the land. Until next time.
I thought for sure you were going to say the Dark Ship Lollipop.
The Dark Ship Lollipop. That is what the shadow dirigible is called. Until next time, as always, our super secret sign-off line on the count of three, or it's not super secret, this one you can tell your friends. On the count of three, a 1, a 2, a 3, punch
the sky, Spaceman Joe.